Trump is transactional, that there is a method in his madness, but it is extremely dangerous method, if at all there is any, in his madness. The president of USA saying that USA will occupy Gaza Strip, man, come on. Donald Trump wants to retaliate that, so he comes up and says, now we want to take the Panama Canal back. The monstrous nature of US president demanding Greenland. Trump in person and the Republican Party in USA just doesn't believe in global warming. They don't believe in climate change. Trump's policy is drill baby drill. Best described in the term drill baby drill. That Trump has been on the rampage. That is my description. Trump on rampage. What is absolutely already affecting global economy is American voters choosing Donald Trump as the president. That was like November 5, 6, 2024. Since then, Trump has been on the rampage. That is my description. Trump on rampage. People call him transactional. What they mean is, there is a deliberate style. Another good description could be the so-called method in madness. That he speaks very aggressively, that he pitches his demands very high. That is his method of pushing the adversary on to defensive, and pitch demands very high before the negotiations begin, so that the adversary is in a defensive mindset and comes up with some compromise program, and that then Donald Trump as a person, right now as president, and US as a country, then has its own way, gets his way, and what it finally gets away with is above even what US expected. So they say Trump is transactional, that there is a method in his madness, but it is extremely dangerous method, if at all there is any, in his madness. He did contest the election on the point of immigration. I don't think anyone will deny that it's a major issue for United States of America. And massive illegal immigration, while no one knows how much it is, knowledgeable people say it is between 15 to 20 million illegal immigrants into US. For a country like US with broadly the population to the tune of about 30 crore, this is massive influx of illegal immigrants. it also has political connotations. And then it is not only illegal immigration, with it drugs come in, the whole human trafficking gathers space. The young generation is driven to drugs, creating dangerous future for America. Therefore, immigration becomes a major issue. Then Trump also makes the issue of tariffs into a major global issue. Essence of his argument is that the world is ripping America apart. The world is having favorable tariff terms from America. To cut a long story short, what Trump is arguing is that on American goods or services in world market, various countries levy high tariffs. While contrarily, when America lets other countries sell their goods and services in American markets, America offers very favorable and very low tariffs. The simple consequence is American goods and services become costlier in global markets, while the rest of global goods and services become cheaper in American markets. It finally ends up in America having a negative balance of trade and a negative balance of payment. There also, to cut a long story short, the simple consequence is America bleeds. More dollars flow out than the dollars that come in. So Trump wants to make this issue of tariffs also. And he keeps his word. On the very first day he is sworn in, the first order he passes is declaring emergency on the southern border and deploying military to tackle the question of immigration. Then he also imposes tariffs on Canada in the north, Mexico in the south, and China. Heavy tariffs. India is not included in that first list. But we would be dangerously disorganized if we think that Trump will spare India. Trump will not spare India. BRICS had contemplated a concept of launching its own currency and then its own bank. That was understood as one more step in the direction of a process called de-dollarization. That the grip of dollar over world economy needs to be reduced. America is the strongest economy in the world, while America is in trouble right now. Economically also America is in trouble. I know I'm going to explain that point. But dollar continues to be the major global currency. Every country maintains a currency basket. And the countries may choose to maintain their foreign exchange reserves in dollars, pounds maybe if they were a British Commonwealth country, euro if they have close relations with Europe, Chinese RMB, their international currency is called RMB. You may pronounce that as yuan also, but in Chinese economy there is this slight subtle difference between the two. Internally it's called yuan, but its global currency is called renminbi, RMB. Renminbi means people's currency. But various countries in the world have begun to maintain their foreign exchange reserves in Chinese currency also. But of course, dollar wants to dominate, because as long as dollar dominates, America dominates. And it's a two-way relationship. As long as America dominates, dollar dominates. So of course, Trump doesn't want a currency to come up as a challenge to dollar. So Trump clearly threatened BRICS in no uncertain terms that any attempt by you for de-dollarization and we will impose tariffs on you. Then our Minister for External Affairs sort of goes out of the way to even explain that India never stood by de-dollarization. But Trump makes an issue of tariffs also, saying India rips us apart. India levies heavy tariffs. So he says, Indians come in and steal our jobs. I will not let Indians come in. So enter the question of H-1B visas. Then among those rare countries, India happens to be the only country which voluntarily accepted that if you find illegal Indian immigrants into USA, we are ready to take them back. The number is supposed to be between 18,000 to 20,000. The first batch is supposed to be delivered in an American Air Force plane, and they were tied in chains and all. America could have chosen to be dignified when India has accepted that we will take them back. But it seems the term dignity in American political terminology in general, but in Trump's personality in particular, this term doesn't seem to exist. So nobody should be under any false hope that Trump may spare India. Trump will not spare India. But these are only negotiating gestures. Think of the president of USA saying that USA will occupy Gaza Strip, man. Come on. What more aggressive statement of intent can there be? That Israel has almost practically razed Gaza to ground in last year and a half. And now Trump says, we will rebuild Gaza, but USA will occupy that. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets Trump. They conduct a common press conference in which US President announces this. Knowledgeable world knows that even when Trump was not in power for previous 4 years, his son-in-law, who like father-in-law is also a real estate developer, Jared Kushner, he had already said that beachfront in Gaza will be a beautiful tourist property. You can construct 5-star hotels, etc. over there. But look at the aggression of the statements. Then President comes up and describes Canada as the 51st state of United States. This doesn't just remain a tweet or a funny quote. When he meets Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in person, and Trudeau complains about Trump's plan to levy tariffs on Canada, then to his face, President says, there is a very simple solution. You just join United States of America as 51st state. Think about it. I don't know how far Trudeau is shocked or everything, but then Trudeau goes back and President Trump persists with this description of Canada as 51st state. And then the tariff war begins. He does levy tariffs and Canada retaliates by levying tariffs on American products. Think of Panama Canal, originally constructed by America, and geopolitically speaking, it is an important one because it connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. In absence of Panama Canal, all trade and commerce will have to travel across the entire Atlantic coast of Southern American continent, go to the, practically it's the tip where Antarctica begins, then turn into Pacific. What a long way, and it will cost all trade and commerce. So the whole idea of Panama Canal, originally constructed by America, originally run for many years by America, and then handed over to Panama. Now Trump comes up and says, we had handed it over to Panama for Panama to run it, not for China. He says it is China that is running it. We need to understand that China has already risen as a world power, politically and economically both, which now has begun to see eyeball to eyeball with United States of America. If American GDP is approximately $27 trillion, then Chinese GDP in dollar terms is approximately $17 trillion. But these are dollar terms. if you take into consideration the concept called purchasing power parity, PPP, okay, then PPP-wise, even Chinese economy is now equal to American economy. Chinese per capita GDP may still be low, but China is already that powerful. And therefore, America wants to contain China with various diplomatic, economic, political measures. Therefore, enter Quad, enter AUKUS, and China wants to secure what are called as 5 choke points in the Indian Ocean. They are the ones if they are choked in the event of hostilities with China, there are these 5 choke points. And global trade and commerce can be choked, that is stopped at those points. Among them, from Chinese point of view also, the most important choke point is Singapore, Straits of Malacca. Entire Chinese trade travels across that. It is under American domination. And in the event of when push comes to shove with China, if this choke point is indeed choked, China will begin to gasp for breath. That's the reason China wants to dominate the South China Sea. Therefore, the so-called 9-dash line. And USA doesn't want that to happen. Therefore, they begin to describe what can geographically, objectively called the Western Pacific as Indo-Pacific, the area where Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean meet. And as a counter to China, USA begins to see and develop relation and prop up their, so to say, India, the only country which has a potential to stand up to China. Therefore, USA begins to perceive a role for India in Indo-Pacific. So this is the global game of chess going on. In order to sort of counter these policies, China seeks to dominate the Panama Canal. Come on, if you choke us at Malacca, we are going to retaliate by choking you at Panama Canal. And Donald Trump wants to retaliate that, so he comes up and says, now we want to take the Panama Canal back. The so-called legal argument is that we had handed it over to Panama for them to run it, but now China is running it and it is counter to our interests, so we will take Panama Canal back. Come on. Colombia tries to resist these immigration policies first, but then USA takes trade measures against Colombia, and within less than 24 hours, the Colombian president falls in line. So also the Mexican president falls in line. You think of the monstrous nature of US president demanding Greenland. His demand is because we need it. Greenland, we need it, so we'll take back. It is, so to say, part of Denmark. But Denmark conferred total internal autonomy on Greenland. It's a huge island in North Pacific, on and just outside the Arctic Circle. And America says, otherwise Russia and China also are threatening our security interests, so we want Greenland. So he says, I'm ready to buy it. That we will take over Greenland because we need it, because the security interest and all. Trump in person and the Republican Party in USA just doesn't believe in global warming. They don't believe in climate change. According to them, the whole environment of the earth undergoes cyclical changes, and this is only a part of cyclical changes. It has nothing to do with anthropogenic factors in global warming. It could be the solar magnetic winds, it could be the cyclical moves, etc., etc. So while actually the whole world has been worried about the future of entire humanity, increasing instances of extreme weather events, the Republican Party and Donald Trump, they just don't believe in this. So even in his first tenure, he had made this a political issue in the presidential election also, that if elected, I will get America out of the Paris Agreement. He got elected, he got America out of Paris Agreement. Biden reinstated America, but here is President Trump drawing America out of the Paris Agreement. All targets in Paris Agreement are out of the window, thrown out of the window. As it is, the main target of one fund restricting global trading, global warming below 1.5 degrees centigrade was unachievable even in December 2015. Our best hope was to restrict global warming to below 2 degrees by the end of this century. But the moment America walks out, it is absolutely impossible. There also, to cut a long story short and share a thumb rule with you, even with whatever all the countries had said we will do, the global warming was supposed to reach 3.6 degrees by the end of 21st century. The world has accepted, and United Nations had made those formal statements to that effect, that India is doing the best role to restrict global warming in the whole world. Even as we are world's fastest growing major economy, we are developing our economy in such a way that the carbon footprint is actually reduced. It's about alternative sources of energy, etc., etc. But the Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is on record having said a couple of months ago that if the whole world, every country in the world, contributes in the same proportion in which India is contributing, Guterres said we will be able to restrict global warming to below 2 degrees. So that is a role India is playing. In a way, it won't be wrong, or it won't also be an exaggeration to describe that India is showing a path. India is actually leading. But Trump's policy is drill, baby, drill. Best described in the term drill, baby, drill, that we don't believe in all this, we are out of it. And America sits on massive sources of natural gas also and petrol also. Among many major resources in Alaska, these are supposed to be big resources below the ice in Alaska. So, the policy of business as usual. So, drill, baby, drill. Remember that America is today world number 1 in oil production, not Saudi Arabia. It is America that is at number 1. America can practically dictate terms to oil prices in the world. So when Trump says drill, baby, drill, it means America is going to increase oil and natural gas production in the world, which means supply increases. In that proportion, the prices are bound to come down. America wants to keep those prices low because the main oil for engine of American economy itself is oil and natural gas. What is therefore generally forgotten, I'm myself as an eternal student in me studying all these issues. When it comes to Greenland, what is not being discussed is that actually Greenland is going to benefit from climate change due to global warming. So see what Trump is doing. Drill, baby, drill. We don't care. We walk out of Paris Agreement. We produce as much oil and natural gas as we want. Okay? And then should these extreme weather events begin to take place, it is actually Greenland that is going to turn into a normal, fertile land. And now Trump says we are going to dominate that. We want it. We are ready to buy it. You tell us the price. I'm ready to give you 3 times the price, but we are ready to buy it. Policies of like Trump on Rampage.